Hello there and welcome back to another edition of Silly Car Showdown. Today we are taking a look at the Austin-Healey Sprite. This car was requested by Tank Catapult, and in my opinion this is the best British sports car, or at least the best of the classic British sports cars, stuff like your MGs and so on. I love the Sprite. It's got a silly little face on it, it's got a scrappy can-do attitude. I remember many fond memories of driving these in Forza Motorsport 4. They were basically like mini go-karts for the track. They were fantastic, fun things to drive. So I have high hopes for the Sprite here. Not too sure what it's going to do when we put a hell of a lot of power through it, but we shall go ahead and see. Right, engine swaps. We have a choice of two, the motorbike engine or the inline-4 turbo rally. I'm going to go for the turbo rally because it's the most powerful of those two. As usual, no drivetrain swaps are allowed in accordance with the rest of this series, and also despite the fact that that does actually add to the paint job quite a bit, we will not go with any Forza Aero because it's not allowed per this series. We will remove the chrome though for some extra weight reduction. And now we come to the bit I'm most concerned about, tyres. It's 145 standard. It's 195's upgraded. Front and rear. Oh dear. This might not end well. Remains to be seen. But 195's do not fill me full of massive amounts of confidence. It does have to be said. Right. Let's upgrade all this. Gearbox, definitely. I don't know what the stock gearbox in this is. With it being old and British, I'm guessing a 4-speed. I don't think it'd be a 3-speed, but you never know. Time to drop it. That doesn't actually drop it nearly as much as I thought it would. It does look a bit ridiculous with the high ride height and the spacers, but that has been rectified. We get a nice little roll bar on the back of it. Is this one of our? Is this our first convertible? Maybe one of our first convertibles, actually, come to think of it. Anyways, put in all this stuff. PI is not climbing that much. Yeah, okay. 668 horsepower, 682 foot-pound torque, 1,430 pounds of weight. Oh my god, it can do 219 miles per hour. That is a terrifying thought in the tiny little Sprite. Yeah, I'm you might think I'm slightly mad for thinking this, but I'm not expecting great things, it has to be said, from our little Sprite. We'll turn the lights on for added happiness, and hopefully it won't try to kill me. Yeah, I haven't got high hopes, it has to be said, but you never know. Maybe I'll be surprised by the Sprite. I was surprised by the Morris Minor Travel, which was the last car we had the Turbo Rally in, so who really knows, but there's only one way to find out. Let's go to Edinburgh. Let's hope I packed a roof. Well, unfortunately I did not pack the roof for today, but nevertheless here we are in Edinburgh with the Smiling Shoe, ready to take on the Edinburgh course. It's going to get 5 laps at the best time it possibly can. Our current leader is the Ferrari Huracan V12 GT, which has a time of 1:35.743. The Sprite unlikely to beat that. In terms of where I'd expect this car to be, 1:53 is the Boostman Imp's time. The Traveller is a 1:51.007. Those are the only other two cars to have the Turbo Rally engine put into them that we've had around so far, so they seem like good candidates for cars to beat. Now, the biggest issue on this car... Okay, this is not the Nova. The Nova sort of probably feels quite nice compared to this because 195 tyres are not fun. Also, a small wheelbase old car, it's basically the worst of all worlds in a car like this. You know, you don't really want massive lightness around a course like this because the curbs and stuff will just bounce you around like mental. Acceleration seems to be phenomenal. Like, when it's actually being able to stick its foot down, the actual straight line acceleration seems rather impressive. It's just a case of trying to keep it in a straight line, which it doesn't really like to do, gotta be honest. Brakes feel good though. I'm not really surprised in a car that weighs 1,400 pounds. I definitely am starting to get the idea that maybe, you know, ooh, that was reverse. I'm starting to get the idea that maybe if you want to drive one of these things, maybe, you know, 100 horsepower max might be a good idea, not 668, but nevertheless. We will carry on. I believe this engine makes like 72 pounds-foot of torque, 72 pounds-foot of boost, or however you mount, 72 psi of boost. And with boost like that, you are going to feel it in the car. So we're not going to really count this time for anything because it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day we haven't managed to, well, get a hang of the car yet. 204.059, I believe that would still beat the Unimog though, and the Peel actually, come to think of it, so silver linings and all that. Of course I've got another Peel on the request list, I'll get to that at some point. I have an idea for the next Peel, of course the Trident's the other Peel, which we will see at some point not too long from now. Ooh, try and get the power down, it's not really doing it. Ooh, another car I think like a 2-minute-ish is where the MGB V8 was. If this is going to beat the MGB, I'll be quite happy as well. Sort of similar vintage cars, all both British sports cars of course. So, if we can beat that, then that's something good. Alright, foot down. Finally, in 5th gear, there is no wheel spin. Hallelujah. Well, yeah, the brakes stop it really nicely. To be honest with you, the front end turning seems like it's not too terrible either. It's just the rear tyres have got no grip whatsoever because of how small they are. I can't really say it's all that surprising, to be honest with you. I mean, the 195s are smaller than the tyres on my car, and my car's... Ew, I missed that checkpoint. Bollocks. That might be an issue in a car like this. But yeah, 195s were smaller than the tyres on my actual IRL car. I mean, that's just a normal Honda, so... Yeah. Ooh, keep snagging reverse. I need to stop doing that, that's a bad habit to get into. I kind of wish this game sometimes just had the old arcade game thing. Well, I say arcade game thing. Kind of wish you'd only go into reverse when you're sort of fully at a stop. But, I mean, you can make it do that with the automatic transmission. You have to stop before you engage reverse. But, of course, I use manual, and if I was using automatic, it would feel weird at this point. Right. Drift out of it. Sort of drifting in and out of corners. It's quite funky. It's quite an alright handling car. It's the funny thing, through the sort of earlier sections of this track, this feels relatively good. It's just in the later parts, it does encounter many an issue. I want to say it's not entirely expected, but, you know, I didn't have high hopes for this thing anyway, so I'm not expecting miracles here. But I am hoping to get a sub 2 minutes out of it. That would be nice, at least. Please tell me I hit that. Yeah, I did hit that checkpoint. I definitely don't think this will be going after the Morris. It also might even fall short of the Imp, to be perfectly honest. But we shall see. Funny thing is, in a drag race, this could probably kick... Did I seriously slot behind that? No, I didn't. I was going to say, please tell me I didn't slot behind that checkpoint. Because the car's so tiny... that does actually affect it a little bit when it comes to collecting checkpoints, because you can very easily slip behind the checkpoint. So, I do need to bear that in mind. Speaking of bearing stuff in mind, I'm going to take this section a bit slower than I usually do, just because the sprite really seems to not have any fun whatsoever through that section. So, yeah, be careful not to snag reverse as well while going through there. And we are on the home straight. Well, I say home straight. One of 2 home straights. We've got to go around this sort of weird museum building first. Up the understeer bends of death. And we will be home free. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a much better time. 156.250. Yeah, not quite sure where that would put it. I don't know if that... I can't remember where the MG actually went. I'd have to have a look. But yeah, I can't say I was expecting this thing to be massively quick. It's not really, you know, being any worse than I expected it to. I said about the Imp being a target, but to be honest with you, that does seem rather ambitious now. I think the Imp's just a better car suited for this. I mean, the Imp is rear engine, rear drive, so maybe that actually is the key, you know, for getting better traction and so on and so forth, and front engine, rear drive just doesn't really work. Again, it's also the size of the car. The car is... the Sprite is a puny little car, so sticking this much power through it is pretty much genocide. You know, I've said before, in a Sprite, you know, 100, maybe 200 horsepower are push, but that's your absolute maximum. It definitely feels like one of those cars, and I said this last time with the Nova, where you could lose some of the horsepower and not really notice. Granted, you know, this has half the power, well, I say half, nearish half the power the Nova had. But, you know, I think I could have put the motorbike engine in this and got relatively similar results, because a lot of that potential power is being spun away through the Sprite, so yeah, a little bit of a shame. I'm going to go slightly sideways, try and get stopped for the corner, just about. Once you're off the accelerator, the actual turning in seems pretty alright. Actual overall turning grip. Ooh, this is going to be a quicker lap. 154, 150, and I've got a tank slapper going on coming into the first corner. I don't think this lap's going to be any quicker, judging by that first starting bit, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, it's... it's not a good car to drive. Let's get that out of the way straight away. It is about as bad as I was expecting it to be honest with you, because I wasn't having high hopes for the Sprite. But, you know, it's not made for something like this. It really is not. This is about as far out of the Sprite's comfort zone as you can get, realistically. And, you know, obviously I'm foregoing stuff like Forza Aero and, you know, stuff that may have helped the car out, so... And I definitely think Forza Aero in the case of this car is a definite necessity, even at low power. It's worth having, just because, I mean, the body is hardly, you know, made to be the most aerodynamic handling package in the world, so can't really criticise it all that much. At least it's brought a smile to the face of the people in Edinburgh, because it has a ridiculous smile. It's sort of a slightly scary, manic smile now, considering, but, you know. It's alright. It's sprightly. This is certainly a way to say it. Spunky. Can't really say that in England, but in America you can. It's not getting stopped for their particular... The brakes sort of feel good sometimes, then feel a bit naff other times. I'm not really sure what's going on there. We discussed before, you know, race brakes in a car like this are only designed to really help it to a point. They aren't a get out of jail free card. But anyways, a 154, 150 is the final time for our little miniature Sprite. Yeah, as I said, I've got to be honest, I was not expecting amazing things from the Sprite, and it certainly has not delivered any massive surprises, but it's okay. I still love the Sprite. I still think you should try this car out for definite for lower class racing, but in terms of putting this much power through it getting into S1 class, there's no point unless you... I mean, you can forward drive swap it if you really want to, but even then you're probably better off getting something that's just, excuse me, natively quick, instead of trying to build this up to be something it isn't. Anyways, a 154 150 will actually put this in a rather peculiar space. It goes slightly slower than the MGB, the Boostman Imp, and the Wooded Wanker. However, it does beat the VTEC Cadet. Granted, VTEC Cadet was running on 185 tyres, and also had, I think, like 50 or 60 more horsepower than this, so that probably explains a little bit of that, but it's still, it did manage to beat a few things, the VTEC Cadet, the Bentley V10, the Unimog, and the Peel P50. So, yeah, one of the more disappointing cars we've had, certainly, you know, it is towards the bottom end of the board, but, I mean, it's not massively surprising that it's there. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this edition of Silly Car Showdown. If you would like to request cars for the series, you can do so in a couple of ways. One way is in the comment section down below. Alternatively, come onto my public Discord, link in the description, and request your cars in the request chat. That's the best way to do it. That guarantees that I will see them. If you've enjoyed my voice, if you're watching this on HD Central, link below is my channel. Come check out my content if you want something subpar to watch on a Thursday evening while crying to yourself like I do. Yeah, other than that though, thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.